Okay, people. So today I am joined by Oriana Ng to talk about her new film, which I will butcher this. I think it's Les Tres Valseurs.
Les Trois Valseurs.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
It's all right.
It is waltz for free.
I appreciate you trying. Most people just say the English title.
No, like I'll always try and say something. But yeah, a lot of times I will butcher it, unfortunately. Uh, now, AJ, the great AJ Feuerman, she hit me up about this, and whenever I get an email from AJ, it's always a big yes. Always a big yes, because I know she's gonna bring me something great. And hey, she did it again. Because your film, oh my days, it is such a wonderful little thing. It's just, man, it's a little bit of emotional roller coaster, which I'm like, AJ, please warn me about that next time. You know what I mean? But oh, it was so good. It was so good. I just loved the way you did it. And then I look, and it looks like this is your third short, which is insanity.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't count, so I went to film school. It was one of my film school projects. So there's like the little stuff we shoot on the weekend. So
Mm,
I don't know if those counts as short, but it's like the third kind of proper, the third or fourth proper one. Let's put it that way.
yeah, yeah. I think probably those, the projects and things like that. It's all training, right? But I guess it's kind of like, right, that stuff with the stabilizers on, right? You've got your stabilizers on your bike, but the other short, the official shorts are like your stabilizers are on, and now you're riding on your own, But
Trying, yes.
yeah, but it's like 16 minutes. Is that, I think that's
18. 18.
18,
Yeah.
18 minutes. And just what you've been able to do in such a short period of time, it is such, because, man, it's just, yeah, the emotions, right? It's this girl, and we don't fully know at the start what's gone on, but as the film's gone, we don't get the full story, but we kind of surmise that there's been loss.
Hmm.
And so she's trying to deal with that. And it's just, I think the big thing is everyone's probably gone through a loss of some type. So you kind of you can understand, right? You can, empathize with Agnes, but it's the way you capture it. It's really well balanced, right? Like, where did this story come from?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for saying all this, and thank you for having me here. And I'm glad you like it, because it's with this movie, I find it's a hit or a miss, and it's completely fine if some people don't like it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Um, but so to answer your question, where did it come from? So I was going through. My grandmother was very sick, and we knew she was going to pass away. So I was just thinking about grief a lot, and having gone through quite a bit of grief, even in my childhood, in my family. So I was thinking about that. And so that's kind of where Agnes's character came from. And then for Jean Jean's character, I loved the actor's work, because we've been friends and we've been working together informally for a while. And I was thinking, oh, how do I cast him? Because he has like this edgy side, but at the same time he has also like so much emotion and like
Mm,
a deep sensitivity that at the time he was getting cast as these like edgy bad boy characters, and I
yeah.
thought he could do much more than that. So I kind of wanted to put him in a role that he could do more. So the prostitute part takes care of the edgy side in a way, even though it's not a lot of people, like a few comments I got initially were like, this is not a realistic prostitute. This is not how, but the goal of the movie is not to be realistic, because we also did want to do kind of like a fairy tale like movie with like aesthetics and visuals that were kind of, a little bit like that would feel like a movie from the 60s or from, so we wanted to have this like beautiful French castle kind of look that it didn't matter if it was a realistic piece or not. We just wanted to deal with those two characters trying to connect, and she's dealing with grief, he's dealing with his own issues. So that was kind of the starting point and how it all came together.
Okay, so there's a couple of things there, right? Firstly, like as you said at the beginning, some people like it, some people don't. And I'm curious, like what are the things people have said why they don't like it?
So I'm smiling because my mother does not like it.
Ah.
And it's completely fine. She likes my previous movie, so it's not, she's like very supportive.
Yeah.
But I think it's just for some people, and I completely get this, I think it's just too emotional and it's too much, and it's like two people talking, and people might get bored, and that's completely fine. And also, like as a critic, like I also see how the dialogue could have been sharper in moments and everything. So I think some people have described it as a patient movie, and I agree with that. It's like you really kind of have to track moment to moment what these characters are going through, and you have to be a little bit patient to go on the journey. I think because they're such great actors, hopefully I get away with it, that every look and every like breath and every moment kind of means something because they're so talented. But then I completely get that some people would feel like, oh, this is going on for too long.
I don't know about that one, Oriana, to be honest with you, because when you know what I mean, you look at what this is, right? I mean, I apologize. I just realized I'm like, hey, you look at what this is. It's your film. I'm like, no. But for me, all right, let me do this. For me, right, you've got Agnès, who's going through all of this stuff, and she's never done this thing before.
Yeah.
Right? So she's not gonna be, hey, how are you? Hey, yeah, come. There's gonna be this resistance.
Yes.
There's gonna be this hesitancy. And I love that, right? Because there's these moments when, I mean, she's talking to him, and then it's just like, I'm not paying you to ask questions, right? Because suddenly the barriers have come back up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel that's exactly what it would be, right? If you've never done this before, it's gonna feel weird, right? And I've not done it myself, right?
Me neither.
But I kind of feel people, and I might be wrong, right? But I feel people probably go to prostitutes because there is a separation from emotions, right? You can get that carnal delight, but you don't have to tread into that emotional minefield.
Yeah.
And so she wants connection, but she doesn't want anything else because that's too sacred for her. And I think, so watching it, I thought you balanced it so well with the push and the pull of the emotions for her, right? I mean, the second dance scene, which, oh my days, when you first did it and you framed it with you're watching it through the mirror, I just thought that was incredible. I was just like, that was because it's this voyeuristic moment, right? We're looking into this personal experience, right? This memory, right? The shadow of this emotional just bliss for her. But by shooting it like that, there is this separation. You know what I mean? And so I thought, it was such a wonderful way to introduce that thing. And so, yeah, it just seemed really well balanced and played. And I thought your cast was wonderful.
Yes.
Sorry, I just
No, they are.
I apologize.
No, I love what you said about emotional minefield. I feel like sometimes it's safer to open up to a stranger because you're like, oh, I'm never gonna see them again. So I've definitely done that where I just talk to people, especially like living in New York, you can talk to people randomly. And sometimes I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna tell them something that's not a secret, but that's something maybe more personal than I would say if it was a friend or even a family member that you feel you have to protect and that you'd have to live with having, opened up the next day when you see them again. But just going back to that shot, which is the second dance, I have to give credit where it's due. So the shot was designed by the amazing cinematographer Emilia Gasic. It was completely her idea. It was like we were planning on doing it another way, and then we had a problem on set, as often happens. And she was just like, I have an idea of how to do this in one shot with one pan. And I was like, what? And then, that's her work. So she really designed that shot and did an amazing job.
Oh man, it was so good. I really, really loved that shot. And then when she's just like, hold on, and she gets a jacket and comes back, and we get closer into it. That part is incredible too, because I don't know, I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, because at first, the way they're holding each other for the dance, and you kind of see her melting into the memory. And that was just, and also like, so you see her melting into the memory, and then you see him kind of being taken over by the emotion of the moment as well. And it's this like, you start off here and then you're slowly getting like that, and it's just it was just this beautiful, counterpoint to the first bit of the scene. Yeah, I just, I really, really enjoyed that.
Well, I also have to mention, so the actors, I'm glad you said they were amazing because I really loved their performances and they were so giving on this movie. So the way I wrote it in the script was like she put the jacket on him, and then she recalls her husband. And I wrote it as kind of a happy moment in the script. I didn't really, it was actually very short how I wrote it. And then we come to the set. So we have this camera challenge, which Emilia solves with this amazing shot. And then Ophélie Lehmann, who plays Agnès and who's just an incredible actor, who does also a lot of theater in Paris. So we hadn't rehearsed the scene, so she touches Mikaël, the actor playing Jean, and then she starts crying immediately. And that was in the script. She just got very emotional, and I was like, oh wait, this is great. But I just told her like, and we figured out like, let's do 3 turns and then let it go on the third one. But I didn't expect her to even get this emotional. It kind of just happened by magic. And I've also never had to tell an actor to kind of hold back for the beginning, because she just had, she's just incredible. Like, she's just a phenomenal actor, and she has so much emotion to give. And so that kind of was also a magical moment that happened thanks to her and how deeply she felt for the character. And them two working together, they were just really connected. And so I'm very happy with the scene, but also, as I mentioned, a beautiful cinema accident or stars aligning because you're working with amazing people.
Yeah, for sure. Because it definitely would play differently if they didn't, you know what I mean, give those type of performances. You know, like when like that happens, right? Firstly you have the camera situation, and then secondly that you see the outpouring of emotion. Does that then make you think about the way you wrote the scene, right? And think, oh, going forward, maybe let me approach it in this other way?
Yes, I mean, definitely I thought a lot about that because to be completely honest, when kind of the best thing happens in the movie was half unplanned, you're kind of like, wait, was that me or that was the team? And I think there's a point where you just have to accept the fact that it's a collaboration, but
Yeah.
that's why I like to give credit where it's due because but then I think also in my process as a filmmaker, I don't have all the answers. I try to be very intuitive. So I rewrote the scene for her after I cast Ophélie, just like kind of based on what she was bringing, rewrote the script. I wrote the script with him in mind, with Mikaël in mind, and then we did some improvs in rehearsal where we tried to his whole solo dance scene came out of an improv that we did in rehearsal, and that's really how I like to work with actors.
Yeah.
Working with actors is my favorite thing ever. So I kind of try to develop a structure where I'm open to collaborate. I'm open to contributions. I'm open to like surprises, but I also try to work them in rehearsals now because on set you cannot have that many surprises on set because you just have to film and you have to be organized and all that. So somebody I worked with, an actor I worked with before, said it was like a form of controlled chaos. My process, which I kind of like that it's controlled. I mean, hopefully it doesn't feel like chaos, but I love being open to this magic moment that an actor who feels free enough and who feels an impulse will follow. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I think I had intentionally left the writing open, kind of. I just wrote she puts the jacket on him. She remembers her husband. Was I thinking that it would be as good as it turned out? No. But I don't know. I guess I got lucky, but I also, one thing I will give myself credit for is like we shot the film chronologically for the most part. So this is actually the last scene we shot. We had to shoot the scene right after in the morning before, just because of like lighting, all that. But apart from that, we shot the whole movie chronologically. So the one thing I will say is like I don't think this would have happened if both actors hadn't fully lived through everything that they lived through over 5 days. So now I sometimes feel like directing for me is about creating the circumstances for magic to happen, and then if I find the right people, which I was so lucky on this set, everyone was so amazing, then just letting them find the magic, because really they'll come up with something better than I could possibly have in my imagination.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there, but I feel like you have to give yourself credit for it all, in theory, because here's the thing, right? I kind of have a similar take in my day job, right? I do communications, and I always tell like the team, always feel free to ask anything, right? Because even if you ask the wrong thing, right, something that isn't right, it can spawn something even better than what we have, and so I like to have press releases and scripts and different things like that loose, up to a certain point where then I can firm it up, because as you say, there's so many other things that can happen, right? Like depending on, right, there's sometimes if you don't know how the CEO is at delivering something, you're very like, all right, I'll keep it like this, and then once I know what they are like, I can then tailor it a little bit more to their strengths, right? And so then you can do that.
Mm.
Or you just kind of, it's not in the script, but you can direct them to deliver in a certain way. And so I think that gives you a freedom, but it's only going to work if you create an environment that is free and open.
And you
Right.
have it,
So,
and you have enough
yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah. So you're able to get these performances, right? And the actors feel free enough to be able to deliver these performances because you've created an environment where they feel that, right? They don't feel oppressed. They feel like they can just fully express themselves. You know what I mean? So I think that is you. Without you, we don't get this.
I mean, that is the goal. And that's something, as I said, I'm really passionate about working with actors. So even after I did this movie, because we shot in January 2020, so it was a while ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. But anyway, yeah, since then, I've been working. I trained as an actor, even though I absolutely don't want to be an actor. And I've been trying, because even like on this movie, I learned so many things about working with actors and everything. So I think now where I am is like I'm trying to just create that space, as you said, where they feel free. But it's also about having the time, because even on this movie, the assistant director, who her name is Mod Bedaish, and she was absolutely amazing. But she came up to me and she was like, "You can shoot this movie in 3 days." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want to, just because I want to work those moments in the schedule where they experiment, or we come up with a better idea, or we do another take, or so yeah, I guess I agree with what you said. It's kind of about creating the circumstances and the environment, and then you take a step back and you see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at this stage of your career, having more days is the key, right? Because it then allows you to be able to kind of find the best way in which you work, right? I kind of look at it sometimes like comic book artists. So when you see, someone like Mark Bagley, right, who's Brazilian, and I don't think his name is actually Mark Bagley, right? Because I didn't know at first. I just thought he was probably American, but then he's actually Brazilian. But anyway, his work on Ultimate Spider-Man with Brian Michael Bendis is fantastic. It's so good, so good. You look at his early work; it looks nothing like that.
Oh,
It's nothing like that, right? And it's the same with Steve Epting and I mean, it's when your mind goes blank at the moments you don't want it to. But there's so many great artists, and sometimes you look at their early work, and they're trying to encapsulate someone like John Romita Jr. or you know what I mean, like a Jack Kirby, or you know, oh gosh, what's his name? Is Steve Lee? I think so. Anyway, but it makes sense, right? Because it's you look up to this person. This person is the tippy top to you, so that's who you're trying to aspire to be. But then over time, you find your own voice, right? You find your style, and I think these early reps, it's all about finding your style and finding how you navigate the space, right? Like, how do you deal with this pressure? How do you deal with a change of, a situation? Something comes up with the camera, right? It's just like, if you're 3 days, it could be like, fuck. Oh, let's just change the scene. Let's not do this. But with extra days, you can be like, okay, let's talk about it. We've got time to talk. We've got time to ruminate, to find a better solution. And so I think that's what this gives you. So then as you go further in your career, right, you can do tighter schedules because you know all the motions now, right? And it's easier to pivot and change because you've had so many reps and you're like, okay, we just do that, right? And everything becomes more instinctive.
yeah. Yeah, and we ended up using the whole time, by the way. So it wasn't like there was not that much, decision making. Still went relatively fast because we ended up just like doing a lot of takes and then filming outside. We're actually filming in a castle, and the outside scenes are at the outside of a castle, including the opening scene. So we were very lucky. It was all one location. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. That's the goal. I hope I'll get there someday.
Oh, I mean, you will, right? I think as I said, like just seeing what you did with this, because there's an economy of words, right? It's not overly wordy, but then it's not just a whole load of silence. As I say, it's very well balanced, but you're conveying so much, like the ending. Oh my days, I love the ending. Because I don't know, because it like now I could be completely wrong, but for what I thought the ending was, I just thought, oh, that's beautiful, that's incredible. I love the way you did it, but it's what you've done in this amount of time. I think the only way is up. Right, you can't go backwards from here. You can't tell a great story and then forget how to tell a great story. You know what I mean? So I just think we're gonna see some really incredible things. It's just, what you decide to do, essentially. That's gonna be it.
Oh, thank you. What did you think of the ending? What did it mean to you?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot. Right, because he's walking out and he sees a statue. And for me, it's kind of like he's looking at this statue and it's like this beautiful piece, but it's broken, right? It's broken and it's tarnished, and it reminds him of her because she's broken in a way because she's lost her love, right? She's lost this connection, this thing that gave her so much meaning. And because she's been so closed off, she's kind of tarnished. Right, so she is the embodiment of that statue, and so that's what that's what I thought the ending was. But it's one of those ones because there's so many times like you go to an art gallery and you see, and it's usually dates, right? You can see looking around, you see people on dates, and you see like someone go, oh yeah, so the artist is obviously talking about his childhood with this piece, and yeah, it's about repressed emotions. But you've already heard the artist talk about the piece, and it's nothing what they're saying, right? So like you see these things and you think something, but you don't want to be like, that's definitely it, right? That's definitely it. So it's just that's what I was wondering when I saw it, but I was like, oh, I get to speak to Oriana, so I can if that is the thing.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I never connected that the statue was tarnished and broken, but I love that you said that, and that was because it was supposed to be kind of a piece of her, but now it makes so much more sense. So next time somebody asks me, I'm gonna steal that from you. Oh yeah, I mean, for us, when we were working with Mikaël, the actor who's playing Jean, we were walking out, and the goal was kind of because I think the movie, it's a two-hander kind of movie, so hopefully you get as much about her as about him. But I think she shares more information, and he doesn't have a backstory kind of. So I think with him, what we were trying to do is like he's walking away from this house, and he's been in a situation that he's never been in before, where he had to kind of provide emotional support, whereas most of the time he's used for his body, and he's like, not seen for something deeper inside of him. And the thing is, like when he walks out and he goes back to where he started, is he going to keep something from that evening, or is it going to wash over him? And the fact that he stops and he looks at the statue and then looks at her was our way of saying like there's a piece of this night that's going to remain with him. So that was kind of, but yeah, it was kind of having a thought about her and the impact that this night had on him, So that was where we were thinking, but it's really open to interpretation. So whatever people want to read into it, that's absolutely fine and encouraged.
Yes, I think that is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because at the beginning, he's just like, oh no, I can make you happy,
Yeah.
right? Because that's kind of, there's a point where I've done different things, but I wasn't good at any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, this is the only thing he's good at, right?
Yeah, that he thinks he's good at least.
Yeah, he can pleasure you, and that's it. But he's not sure he can converse with you, right? He doesn't know he's got the ability to, reach for that next thing, that next level of connectivity.
Yeah.
And so, throughout we're kind of seeing it says, but it's like where he's like, I'll dance for you, right? And he feels a bit busy, doesn't know the rest of the song, and you see these moments of sadness within him. But as things open up, I think, and especially at the end with the dance, you kind of see within him that it's like he's discovered this thing inside of him, right? That he can go deeper than he thought he could go, right? So, yeah, it's, as you said, we don't know a lot about him, but I think we do get this really incredible arc within his character as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that, and I really think it's a testament to Mikaël Mittelstadt, who's an incredible actor, doing a lot of screen right now, doing really well. But yeah, I think he added those layers. There was no kind of lines about his backstory, or I'm glad you picked up on those 2 lines because that was it. And I know he created his whole backstory to it, and you can kind of see glimpses of it in his acting, which I absolutely love. And yeah, it's exactly what you said. Like he discovers he has something deeper in him than what he thought, and he is really able to support her in that dance scene. And I have a friend who watched it, and she said to me something that I love, and I now quote when people ask me. But during the waltz scene, or that the long dance that they share together, she's the one who's crying, but he's the one who's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because she kind of decided, I don't think she planned it, I think it happened, but she decided to open up and like kind of let go of everything. But he's kind of like, I'm not sure what's going on, and I have to hold this person who's a stranger, and I think he's happy to do it, but at the same time he really doesn't know what's happening. And I think it's very vulnerable for him, the way it is in real life when you're there for someone and you have this outpouring of emotion. So yeah, I'm glad you saw that and yep, noted his performance.
Yeah, it like the placement of the hands, right? Because they're holding the hands in the traditional way in which you dance, and then as she is enveloped in the emotion and she buries her face into his shoulder, for a second you see that like, oh, what do I do? And then he just kind of wraps her up in a hug, and that's kind of when everything just crumbles, everything falls down, those walls, those barriers, right? That resistance to experiencing something else, because it's like when you're not used to certain emotions, there is a hesitancy, there are barriers that you put up, right? You don't want to feel certain things, right? Because it's weird, it's foreign, you're not used to it. And in that moment, you can see it's all fallen away, and it's just those things that I think can make and break a film, right? Though it's those things, those moments, right? That emotion that can elevate something from being, yeah, that was okay, to, man, that touched me, And this film, it does touch you. It really does. And like, it's funny because as I said, like if AJ sends me something, I don't even really look into it. I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. So then when you look at the synopsis and it's like, oh, a woman gets a prostitute, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, but you from that, I don't think you would expect this story. You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I always say it's
great.
not as scandalous as what the logline makes it out to be. Yeah.
But I really loved the fact that it is this, right? Because we've seen other stories when people, like, you know, it kind of starts like this, but then they end up having sex, and you know what I mean, it becomes something else, and blah, blah, blah. But I'm just like, but it's not always about the physical, right? It's that emotional thing that is the powerful thing. And so the fact that we see it like this, I think it just hits harder. You know, because I think sometimes with indie filmmaking, people want to be evocative, right? So it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna have some full frontal in there, and we're gonna do this and boom, 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 and we'll be kind of crazy. But it thinks it makes you edgy, right? It makes people talk about you. But it's just like, but it doesn't always have to be that, right? You don't always have to have that thing to have people interested. It's just about the story. It's like, well, you're seeing a lot at the, you know, these days when it comes to, you know, fighting, like boxing and MMA. I think it's like because of when Conor McGregor fought Jose Aldo, and he steals the belt, and it was this crazy thing, and like, because everyone before that had respected Jose Aldo so much because he was such a revered and talented fighter, and McGregor showed him no respect whatsoever. But that threw him out, and so he rushes forward and gets knocked out within the first few seconds, right? So everyone is trying to do that thing, you know, and it's just like, it feels so false. It feels so fake. It's like Daniel DeBose screamed in Usak's face before, you know, in the warm up to their fight, and it was kind of like, why are you doing that? Right? The first fight wasn't close, so don't be silly. You know, maybe you win the second fight, but chances are you're not gonna win it, right? So don't act like a dickhead. You know what I mean? But everyone wants to do it because they think, oh, I'll go viral. Oh, it's gonna have people talking. But you don't always have to do those things, right? The story is the powerful thing, and that is what this shows. The story is the power. The story has the emotion.
Oh, thank you. But it's funny you're saying this because so the movie I made before this was, which was another short, called Exit, and it was completely different. It was like under 5 minutes, but it was like people have described it as a thriller, which I didn't realize when I was doing it, but then I thought, oh, that makes sense. But there was like an attack and like people reacting and everything, and I like the movie. I'm proud of the movie and everything, but once I finished that, I thought, okay, for the next thing I write, I'm going to challenge myself to just have two people in a room, because I thought I need to learn how to do that. And if I can keep people's interest while having two people, no life or death threat, nothing like super spectacular. I guess this most spectacular thing, the hook, is that he's a prostitute, and that's a little edgy or whatever. But then it doesn't really go there in that sense either. It's kind of the hook, but then it becomes something else. So that was kind of the assignment I set myself to challenge myself as a filmmaker. But the only way to do that is to have really, really, really great actors. And I mean, and the location. And I also just want to shout out Margot Trutin, who was the incredible production designer on the movie, who kind of just made the castle look perfect for what Agnès was going through, because it's like a bed and breakfast situation. And the place looks gorgeous, but she like changed the curtains, she kind of moved everything around. to just have this like feeling of intimacy. And Stina Dahlman, who did the costumes, which, I mean, his costume clashes with her costume. Is like two different worlds coming together. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to have two people talking, having great actors and like a beautiful set and very talented people definitely helps.
Yeah. Oh, and the costumes, right? And the problem sometimes when you do your reviews and stuff like that, there's so much stuff that you actually forget about, right? And it's not until you finish it, you'll be like, oh, and I didn't mention that, and blah, blah, blah. And you just remind the costumes, right? Because she's wearing the blue dress and he's in his kind of, you know,
I don't know how we want to call his costume, but yeah.
I don't know, like, but he's in these clothes, and there's that, you know what I mean, complete clash in that. But it's kind of like, you know what I mean, because I don't know, she's kind of dressed like she's, I don't know, like looking to go on a date, right? And it's a date with her memories.
Yeah.
And so it just felt so perfect because of that, right? Like, I'm like, yes, she's not just going to be wearing a jumper and jeans, right? This is such a special moment, right? Because she is looking to connect with, because it's kind of like he's there, but she's trying to invoke her husband. You know what I mean? Over the top of him, as it were. She's doing mental Photoshop in her mind, right? And so she would dress up like she would dress up for him. And so, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that just works so well. Like, it just felt like it was just the perfect thing, you know?
Yeah, thank you. I'll let Stina know. But it was who did the costumes. But it was interesting because we were going for, so Agnès had a kind of a more classical look, and it's, you know, she would be dressed in a way that she lives in the castle, and she, you know, in a way that's kind of elegant, you know, and then he's kind of more rock and roll type situation a little bit. And then I think I told them like, oh, he's living with these other female prostitutes and the only man, so maybe he has like one item of female clothing. And then Mikaël and Stina got together, and this was one of my favorite days working on the movie. And I just saw them like piece his character's clothes together. And then he was like eyeliner, and I was like, oh, this is too much, but whatever. I mean, they actually really felt it. And I love when actors really get invested and kind of create with the costume designer and everything. And also the hair and makeup was Mai Steller, who's just an incredible person. And did so much more than just the hair and makeup, was like such a great support person on the movie. And she also, I mean, the hair, everything, the makeup, the bun that she has, everything was like really, yeah, we tried to really make a beautiful, like a physically, that's not a word, but like a visually pleasing movie. But that also kind of told a lot about those two characters and those two worlds meeting. For the outside world, which we see at the beginning with all the prostitutes, like my references was like some of the Fellini movies, because I love Fellini, and I also love in Fellini you have this type of like character who's a little naive and who's a little innocent, which was kind of a bit what we were trying to do with his character, but who's like naive but then smarter than you think he is and deeper than you think he is. And then for the inside world with the castle, we were going more for like the Luchino Visconti movies, obviously on a more limited budget, but you know, like those breathless, beautiful movies like the Leopard and all. I mean, I love his movies. So we're trying to get those two worlds to collide somehow.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, right? And it was fitting for both characters, right? The environments and just everything, right? It kind of really did speak to who they were. So that kind of works. And also it's just like when you think about what Jean is wearing, It is because, the way he walks up to the car, right? And it's just like, hey. So it's like he's trying to project this thing, right? This edgy, this like, this brash character. So the clothes and all of that kind of play into that as well. So it's just like it does it works. It works.
Oh, I'm glad you think it works. It was a lot of thinking, but it was such a fun part of the process, the costumes and the world building.
Yeah, no, I just really, really did enjoy this, and the score, love the score. Oh, score.
I'm glad. I do want to talk about the composers. I'm glad you mentioned the score. Because that was the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's like there's so many things when you watch a film, right? There's so many components that you wonder about, right? You'd be like, okay, so right, how did they decide what they're gonna wear? And what I mean, like, oh, was there thought that went into like the music? Is it meant to work for the environment, or is it meant to work for the emotion, or like what are we trying to say with this? And what I mean, like there's all these different things that you wonder about. So it's like whenever you get the opportunity to talk about it, it's just like awesome.
Wow. Okay. So should I just talk about the composer
Yeah.
and how
Yeah,
we
yeah,
work?
yeah.
Yeah. Let me know if I'm talking too much or whatever.
No, no.
But this is actually really important because I could not find the right composer for this, and I had lovely, very talented people who did a little piece of music that was great, but that didn't work. So I actually really searched for the person. For I think I delayed the post production for like 9 months because I couldn't find the right composer. And struck gold with this person called Jude Shi, who is incredible. And I'm so grateful for what he did because the movie's 18 minutes long and there's 8 minutes of score over those 18 minutes. So he's really a huge part of the movie. And this 4-minute, 30-second scene where they're not talking, there's no dialogue. I always like to say like he's the third dancer, like he's the husband in the scene, and he's like dancing with them through his music.
Yeah.
And that scene would not land if his score was not what it is. And even like the ending scene with the music that goes over the credits is just like breathtaking. And he actually got like real the Budapest Orchestra did the recorded or played the score for that goes over the end because it was his thesis project because he was graduating NYU. It was his thesis project, and then he was like, "Oh, I was allowed to get a piece recorded by the Budapest Orchestra, so I just recorded this." And at the time, we were not sure completely how we would put it in the movie, but I was like, "No, this needs to be in the movie, even if it's over the credits." So we got really lucky. And then the piece, the waltz piece, and then the opening music were recorded as well with like live musicians who did a fantastic job.
Oh man, that's like, I'm just kind of like, imagine that's your project. Like you hand that in. It's just like that's the first class straight. Like, oh my days. Man, that's something. That's him. But what is it like the fact that you delayed post? Because I feel there's a load of people that would just go, that's close enough. I'll go with that.
No. No. So this project was my baby, and it kind of is my baby. Now I've let it go a little bit in a healthy way. But we shot it in January 2020 and then went through COVID. I was editing it through COVID, kind of got too many notes and butchered it. I'm sure a lot of people know, you cut the movie out of the movie because you're trying to cut all the flaws out. And then I worked with a co-editor who was absolutely amazing called Razvan Barsetti, actually based in London. And we worked remotely and and he was so helpful at being like, he told me, you need to, this scene, I know you don't like it, but we need it for the movie. So he helped me put things back in and just arrange things in a way that, when you were talking about the balance, he found the balance of like going to her, to him. How much do we show about her? How much do we show about him? We cut a bit of dialogue out as well because they were talking too much by my own fault. So that's why the editing itself just took a very long time. Took like over 2 years. And then took me like a whole other year to find Jude, the composer. And then also I want to mention another person who was absolutely crucial, Sarah Kadouri, who's based in Morocco. And so she did the sound design on this. So, and we have a very international team, which actually was kind of an accident, but I'm very proud of. So lots of video calling. And Jude is based in LA, but he's Taiwanese. So it was like me, her, and him doing like the sound design in 3 different countries or 3 different, places of the globe. And she did a really amazing thing. It's like the movie has a lot of silences, and those silences always feel full thanks to her. Like she'll always add like a little sound effect that you won't even register. Like there's a moment where she put a dog barking and it's the dead of night. And I was like, that works, but why does it work? And I said, explain it to me. And she said, because when it's really silent, you can hear even a dog barking in the distance in the middle of the night. So the combination of her work with Jude's music, and then how she arranged the beginning where it starts diegetic and then it becomes score. It starts in the record, I don't know, how do you call it? The gramophone?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I was blessed with really amazing artists who I'm sure in a few years will like completely have blown up the film industry.
Yeah, no, the sound component of the film again just worked. I just really enjoyed it. Like when you were thinking of the score, like were you kind of looking at other films and going, so the scene in like Eternal Sunshine, when they have this moment, I want something kind of like that, but let's make it a bit fuller, or let's shrink it a little. Is that how you were doing it, or were there more kind of like written stuff like so I'm looking for something that gives off the impression of this, or like how were you like trying to give composers an idea of the thing?
Oh, okay. So I had a temp score for the longest time. Because when I wrote the script, do you know who Gabriel Yared is? The composer?
No.
So he composed the music for The English Patient and for Cold Mountain and like Talented Mr. Ripley, a ton of other movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Love his music. Huge fan. I just listen to his music like in my daily life. Anyway, love his music. Went to his concert. Big fan. And I found a track from Cold Mountain, the score of that movie, which just emotionally really spoke to me. I listened to it all through the writing and everything. And then on the day where we filmed the waltz scene, I actually played it on set for the actors, and they waltzed to it on set. Okay. Not in the take that we used, because for that we had them silent, but they waltzed to it just before. And it did affect their performances. Like it kind of brought out an intimacy. It's a very beautiful, intimate score. And then I had to turn a cut in, and I was like, oh, let me see if let me try if it works. And so I used this temp for the longest time. And then there was a whole thing where some people were telling me, you're too attached to this temp. You're never going to find your composer because you have this in your head, and you have to let go of this. And then I even wrote to Gabriel Yared, somehow managed to, loveliest person, about potentially getting the rights. And he said, I don't have the rights. That's not how the music industry works. But he was so supportive and said such nice things about the movie that really, really touched me. Anyway, but so that's why I thanked him at the end of the movie, because I felt like he was an inspiration and also just ended up supporting me, even though we couldn't use his music. So I actually found Jude, went to like listen to every short film my friends had made, tried to find composers like everywhere, and I went to a screening that was like, because I graduated from NYU, and I went to an NYU composer screening, and he also graduated from NYU, but like he was in screen scoring, I was in MFA film, so we didn't really overlap. And I went to watch, this was like a collaboration that they'd done, and I watched the first short film, and I was like, oh, I like the work of that composer, like, good job. Second short film, 10 seconds in the piece, I thought, I don't know who this is. I don't know if it's a man, a woman, non-binary person. I don't have no idea who wrote this. This is the person that I need for my movie. And then at the end, I was at one end of the room and he was at the other end of this huge concert hall room. And I saw him stand up and I was like, I need to go and contact this person. And it's so funny because it was like 9 months after searching someone, having tried different people who were very talented, but just it wasn't the right fit. And in this moment, I just knew it was him. And then I sent him the movie and I sent him with the temp score. And he even said to me, the temp is really good. Like, he said something like, I don't know if I can do better. Like, this is great. And of course he did, and the temp, I love the temp. I'm very attached to the temp. It's gorgeous. But I think what he did in this version was that the temp was more, somehow when I was listening to the temp, watching the scene, I was looking more at Agnès than Jean, and he really balanced it out. And he'll explain it in a much better way than I wish I could explain it, because I have no music literacy. I've never played a single instrument. So I was really directing him, just talking about the characters and like, this moment should feel this way. Like I cannot give, and I shouldn't really, because when you're directing, you have to respect that every person has their own lane and you shouldn't like micromanage them, whatever. But he did something where Jean had some instruments and then she had other instruments.
Yeah.
And then when we see his face, it's like this, she has strings, I believe, and then he has, I forget, I don't even know. And so he really balanced it that you feel for both of them in that scene. And I mean, I'm very grateful for him, for his work, and it was just so easy to work with him. I mean, he's a perfectionist, so he went through several rounds, but he just got it immediately. I didn't give him that many notes, so I was so lucky.
Oh man. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's great. And I think also what's great about hearing that is it lets people understand that like this stuff doesn't have to be instantaneous.
No.
You know what I mean? And it can take time in finding the right thing, but just hold on to what you believe in, and you know what I mean, you will then make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'll never spend another 4 years on a short film, because to be honest, I mean, I did other things. I did many other things. It wasn't like it was my only project, but the production designer had 2 children in those 4 years. And I was like, really? In 4 years, you made an 18-minute short film? Like, I should reorganize my life priorities. But I am incredibly proud of the film and the people who worked on it. It was just like, they were all willing to go the next level. And it was more than just a job. It wasn't, I mean, and we were so low budget that, people were volunteering or paid very little. So it wasn't really a job. I wasn't offering them a job, but I was so lucky because everyone on set, the actors, cinematographer, like the whole creative team, like even the production assistants were amazing on this movie. They were so helpful. And post-production, everybody was just willing to go the extra mile without me even asking them. And that was such a gift. And that's also why I love this movie, just because the people were so incredible.
Yeah, I think the thing is, right, for me, with stuff like this, there might not be a load of money.
No.
But the end product, I think that is lasting, right? And you can hold that up. You can say, oh, I created the score for this, or oh, I did cinematography on this, or I did this on this, and you know what I mean. It's a great example of work, you know. So when you're trying to land a gig, and they're like, what have you done? And you go, well, there is this, and they'll be like, oh shit, okay, when can you start? Right? Because it's that proof of concept, right? It's that thing. There's I went to a few comic conventions, right, back in the day, and people would go, oh, I've got a great idea for Spider-Man. Can I write? How do I get to write one of your Spider-Man books? Or I've got this incredible idea for Batman. How can I write one of your books? And they're like, okay, but I mean, can you give me an example of some of your other work? And I'm like, oh, well, I haven't done anything else yet.
Yeah.
I've got this idea for this story, so I want to do this. And it's just like, if you haven't done your own thing, why is someone going to, put everything on your shoulders, right? If you aren't willing to, bank on yourself, right? Why should anyone else do that for you? So it's just like, it's starting this, like people want to be like, oh, how much money do you make? Like, all that. And it's just like, it's not about the money, right? It's about having the opportunity to have conversations, right? That's the big thing. And if you're not prepared to, stay up until 1, 2 in the morning to have a conversation, right? If you're not prepared to, work for good, years, and you're not making any money, then why do it? You know what I mean? It's like, why do the thing? Because it's like, you can see those things where people are getting paid a load of money, but there's no passion, right? There's absolutely no passion. There's no soul to a project. And that doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? Like, so there's got to be passion. There's got to be soul. So when people are committing to a project and they're not, they're doing it for free or for very little money, then there's passion, right? There's soul. So you're gonna get something special from those people.
Absolutely. And even like one of the people that I contacted was like, oh, I probably won't have time to work on it, but whatever, send me a link. And then they watched it, they're like, okay, I want to do this. So then and as I said at the beginning, it's not the right fit for everyone. But then in that case, that's great, because I know you want to do this because this somehow speaks to you, and that, it's you're going to give it all the love and care that, I hope, that the movie needs, and that I hope every person will give. Because as a director, I always say, as a director, you're kind of in charge and you're telling people what to do, but you're also like begging people to do the best they can all the time. Because it's like, I don't know how to write music. I don't know how to fix the light. I can't act for the actors. So it's really, you just constantly have to beg people or inspire people to just go that extra mile, for not even for you, because it's not really for you. It's for what you guys are trying to create together. So yeah, I mean, I got so lucky, but I think, there is something really beautiful about being so low budget and kind of having this thing come together over so much time, that I knew the people who were saying yes for the right reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing. Like, as I say, this is like your third short. So in making this, do you notice like that growth, that evolution from the first two? Like, was it a different experience for you?
Yes, it was very different because, as I mentioned, I said the challenge was different. The first two had some violent components, if you will. So this one was really trying to tackle dialogue, which I was always self-conscious about my writing. Still am probably, and trying to just tackle working with actors. So yeah, it was very different. It was also so nice to have, because we all filmed. So there was a bed and breakfast. We all slept there. We all shared rooms. So it felt a bit like a winter vacation camp, even though we were all working. And we were kind of in a bubble together for 5 or 6 days. So it was really intense. But yeah, I did notice my growth in, I mean, things we talked about a little bit, but like learning to say, I don't know. Sometimes when you have a really good team, they won't, especially as a woman, because I think, and I look younger than I am. And I mean, I think I was 27 when I filmed this, but like sometimes as a woman saying, I don't know, some people might be like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, you know? Whereas to me, if I don't know, it's an opportunity for people to say, hey, wait, we could try this. And ultimately, like, I'll decide. But yeah, it's just trusting myself, trusting the process, trusting that I wanted to film chronologically, trusting that if I didn't have the answer, we would find it together. Yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's how I grew.
Yeah, no. It really does answer. Yeah, no, it does. It's like, what? I mean, everyone gets into this stuff for different reasons, right? Like for you, what is it about storytelling that is so magical, so encapsulating?
Oh my God, that's such a big question. I want to know what you think after I answer.
Okay.
I don't want to be alone answering this. It's such a heavy question. I don't know, because I think you stumble upon it when I started watching Scorsese and De Niro movies when I was like 13 in France. Like I grew up near Toulouse in the southwest of France. I just became obsessed with Robert De Niro's filmography, which is not a joke. When I was like from 13 to like 16, I think I watched 2/3 of his movies and I owned a ton of his DVDs. And
what was do you remember which was the first one that you watched?
Yes, it was. So my mother showed me The Godfather, but she would like censor. She would like fast forward like the scenes I shouldn't watch, and then she would like fill me in. It's really, and then she watched, and I saw Godfather 2, and I was 13. I was like, I like this actor. And so she was like, oh, he's Robert De Niro. He's like actually really famous. But this is me not knowing who Robert De Niro is. And then I fell down this rabbit hole. And then initially I was like, so that's why I wanted to go to NYU Film School even when I was 14, because Scorsese went there. So I was like, oh, this is what I need to do. And then I kind of, went to did really well in high school, and then was like, oh, I should do this because I was afraid. Ended up like getting a business degree that really, I guess I kind of use it sometimes, but I don't really use it. It's kind of like a detour, and always try to quit filmmaking and always ended up coming back to it. Always try to be like, I try to be a producer I was like, I'm going to produce because that's a safer path, and always end up coming back to writing, directing. So now I've accepted this is my curse. But I think you stumble upon it when I was young. And ultimately for me, it was the love of actors, even without knowing, because I was watching Streetcar Named Desire when I was 14. I was just mesmerized by Marlon Brando. And looking back, I'm like, it wasn't the story. Like I was 14. It was the acting.
Yes.
And I think that's what I was always drawn to, which is why now I'm starting to do theater, because that is just the acting, So I think it's the love of acting. And I think the idea of having something that you can have forever in film, which you don't have in theater, and I'm still working on accepting that. There's something so nice about, like, I've dealt with loss in my life, and the beauty of a movie is you can watch it over and over again, and it's never going to go away, and it's never going to change. So that, I think, is why I love film. But also, I think a lot of people feel this way, but like, those characters really go into emotions that we in our daily lives, we spend our time trying to run away from, So I mean, I've had this moment where I picked up a piece of clothing from like someone I'd lost, and I would like really try to hold back tears. But the fact that Agnès actually goes and like fully commits to putting it on Jean and like goes through this whole thing, that's something that we would never do, but we would like maybe dream of doing it, or we would, you know, try to recreate something that was lost or someone that's gone. I think it's a temptation that we've all had, which is what this movie is about. But I think just in general, like art is about going in those places that we're afraid to go to, storytelling and acting in particular.
Yeah. In that moment, I kind of figured to myself, there's probably been hundreds of times that she has gone to get that jacket and just couldn't, you know, like, because I think sometimes, like as you said, there's those things that just carry the echo of people, and sometimes like you can just go near it and it invokes way too much, and you're just like, no, not today. I cannot deal with that. And then over time you're just like, okay, I can step there. I can, you know what I mean, like immerse myself in that thing now.
But you say that, but I think a lot of people will never do that.
Yes, because I think it takes a while to realize that you can do it.
But
right?
it's terrifying.
The first time you do it, you're still not sure you can do it. Right? So there is that foreboding, there is that fear that you're going to just lose yourself in that thing. You know what I mean? You're gone. There's no coming back. So there is that fear. But sometimes it's embracing the fear.
But so that's why I love actors, because I love working with them. And I'm not an actor. I've done some acting, but definitely not professionally, because I think they're so brave, because these are people whose profession or even, you know, when they're just training, like will go to those places and will embrace those feelings just for really for the rest of society to then, you know, consume, or like to help the rest of us. And the idea of the jacket actually came from, so I did some training at Strasbourg. So the method, which is like a lot of sensory work where you recall people or things like that, using, so there's like 5 different senses. Anyway, there's one you can do with like fabric. So you can like recall fabric and then it brings back emotion. So that's where that prompt gave me that idea for when I was writing the scene. Right. So it's like an acting exercise, it's an acting training exercise, where that came from. Just fun fact.
Okay.
So what about you? What is where does your passion for storytelling, or for at least for, you know, storytellers and watching stories come from?
Yeah, so like, I don't know, as you know, as a kid, right? I grew up in a very non-diverse place, right? There was no other real black families in the area, right? So, you know, and the National Front had a head office very close by, right? So you'd get grown people coming up and be like, go back to your own country. We don't like your type here. You know, when you're a little, like 5, you know what I mean? And like 40-year-old men and shit would say things, and you'd always hear stuff like people saying things. Oh, look at him. And so and you know, when people whisper, but they're saying it loud enough for you to hear intentionally. So there's a lot of that. So, you know, I wasn't going out all the time just because I'm just like, I don't want to go out and hear this shit all the time. Obviously, as a little kid, you're not saying it like that, but that's essentially what you're doing. You know what I mean? So it's just like immersing yourself in TV and stories, right? I was at the library all the time, but I've got bad eyesight. I'm basically registered blind, right? So there wasn't a lot of large print stuff. So most of the large print stuff was like Agatha Christie. So I read all of Hercule Poirot, Miss Martha. So I was reading all of that kind of stuff, and then there were these magazines that had audio books on them, right? And so they'd have the story in the magazine, but then they'd have it as an audio book as well. So I would get those. Oh man, I ingested all of those, right? And so it's just all these different types of stories and Greek mythology and just all of this. And I loved it. And it was just like escaping to that different world, right? Like, and there was no racism, right? There was no isms and all of this shit. It was just these adventures, and that just felt so incredible, right? And it's not until you got older that you then realize actually, but there's no diversity on TV, because it was just the story that was the draw for me. And I think you kind of and also is, you know, I can't really see that well, so it's just like you're seeing what you want to see, you know what I mean? Even though there's no diversity, you're still in your head, you know, when you're thinking about it, and you'll be like, oh yeah, and there's probably this, right? Oh, and you know, their parents are probably black, right? Because I was adopted, so you then kind of think, yeah, they're probably adopted too, yeah. So you're just thinking all of this different stuff. And so it was just these stories that would just like make me happy, right? And that you just found yourself gravitating to constantly. And so it was just, yeah, it was just that. So I just like loved stories and different types of stories, and then different mediums of art, right? Because you know, you think stories are just one thing as a little kid, and then you realize then you've got poetry, right? Then you've got music and different types of music, like rap is poetry, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then you realize that other forms of music like country is similar, and blues, and you know, classic soul, right? Which actually there was something to it. It wasn't just, hey, I'm gonna take you to my place, and you know, there's more to the song, right? So it's just you're then seeing stories in so many different things, and these different types and modes and ways to converse this thing. And so that was just fascinating. And then you're just looking for ways to, you know, be a part of it, right? And yeah, eventually I just like, you know, I was doing some editing work and, you know, comic book stuff, and yeah, then I got into this.
I'm wondering if there's a parallel between the fact that you initially started listening to audiobooks and now you're doing kind of podcasts, because I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like that, you know, medium that was so it left such an impression, right? Because I at the beginning, I was thinking about doing a blog and writing. And I wrote some, you know, I wrote some film reviews and stuff. It's probably still up somewhere. What did I call it? It was, oh my days, it was like Cerebral Landscapes or something like that. And yeah, so I wrote some reviews and put them up, but I don't know, I just found writing to be limiting, you know. And I mean, I can write, like I write, for the day, press releases and annual reports and different things like that. So I can write. It's not really an issue, but there's something about conversation. I think it just, for me, it's more powerful. There's more power in, audio than written. So I was just like, you know what? And I think the other thing with audio, right? So if I'm writing, I could, and, like when I first started, a lot of people were just like, oh, so you send someone questions and then they answer them and then that's your thing. And I hated that because I'm just like, but what if they say something that's really interesting and I want to know more? Right. So it was then trying to go, oh, how can I? So when I first started doing the comic book stuff and talking to people, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to send you 5 questions. So once you respond to those, I'll craft more questions. I'll send those back to you. You send, and then eventually we're done. But you know what I mean? We're bouncing back and forth. And so sometimes the interviews I do, they would take ages because I'm just like, no, because you said something in that answer, and now I want to know more. And so then I'd send them more questions. And they're like, are we not done yet? I'm like, not quite. They're like, we're nearly done. I don't know. Depends what you say next. You know what I mean? So it was always that. But it's just like, it's easier to edit and sanitize a written piece. And what I always hated was, when you're growing up and you're like, oh, I want to see this film. And then you'd hear people talk about the films, which then blew my head because I'm just like, oh, what? There's this next component. It's not just a film. There's more, right? But you'd have these interviews, right? You'd stay up or you'd make sure that you tuned into a show because they're going to speak to this actor or director. And you're like, oh my God, this is going to be great. And they'd be like, so, yeah, Chris, Mr. Nolan, tell us, what's your favorite breakfast? And I'm just like,
I know.
Why are we asking him this question? Ask him about how they filmed the freaking corridor scene. That's what I want to know about, not about what granola he has. Stop it. Right. And it's just kind of like when people do the stupid red carpet stuff and they're like, oh, what are you wearing? I'm like, I don't care. They could be in a trash bag. I want to know what the process is to get in the mindset to give that performance. You know what I mean? And
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so these things frustrated the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, yo, I want to do something, but I can't do it how it's done right now. So I'm just like, it's got to be long because I think that's because, I think because I would have to talk to people at work and you would find, and so my thing was always, I'm going to sit down with them have a coffee, tea, whatever, and just warm people up. Because if you just go straight in, they're guarded, and they don't want to, like I was creating this image bank. I was working for this company, World Obesity Federation. So it was creating this bank of images that researchers and people could use. Because every image around obesity was just someone shoving a burger in their face, but with a big smile on their face. And it's just like, that makes no sense, right? If you're writing about, processes for people to be able to lose weight, how can you use that picture, right? So it's about creating new pictures and stuff like that. But some companies had image banks, but the images I didn't really like, and they didn't really work. Some of them did, But so when I was crafting this, I was like, I was writing all of this stuff. And I was like, yo, this is what we're trying to do. We're not stepping on anyone's toes. But then everyone was pissed. Like, everyone was pissed. And so I arranged a meeting, and like they're all like shouting and everything like that. And I'm just like, you know what, that's cool. Vent, right? And I was just like, like I'll give them time to vent, and then I'll break everything down. And because I gave them that space to be like angry and and it wasn't a quick thing. They then got on side, right? And then we started working together, and it became a thing. So it was just like I understood that a long conversation is far better than a short one. So it was just like, I want that, but also it can't be sanitized, right? Because when you're listening to something, watching something, and you can see the edits.
Yeah.
I'm like, but what did they say? Like, what the fuck happened there? So I'm just like, if I flub a word, it stays. Right? If I, get something wrong, it stays because it's human. It makes it feel honest. And so, yeah, that's fine. I took your ear off. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's it.
It's just really fascinating how clearly you've thought about the interview process or the conversation process so much. I love that you were like sending them follow-up questions after they answered your initial questions. I love that. I think that's great. It's kind of similar to some of the work that the artists do, because like really it's, you need space and you need time to create something special and for people to like drop their guard. And if you're everybody can do their job, but if you're chasing that one magical moment, like for me, that an actor might give me, or if you're chasing that one answer that, if I mean, not just you and I, but like whoever you're talking to, if you hadn't like had this initial conversation, and those things are going to come unexpected when the person kind of dropped their guard and they feel comfortable. So I think there's a whole process. It sounds like there's a whole process around what you're doing. And also the other thing I was thinking was, I think when if you had sent me some written questions, every time I have to write, I go up here, I go in my head.
Yeah.
But then when I'm just talking to you now, like even though we're on Zoom, there's this exchange of energy, and then I'm gonna answer like from like my gut much more, just because I'm not writing, I'm not in my head, I'm just talking to you. So I appreciate that you've created this environment for us to have this conversation right now.
Yeah, there's more of a freeness in it, right? And when you think, oh, am I talking too much? You can just be like, no, you're not. Because it's like, I think the whenever you do something, right, you worry that you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Or other people are, anyone else is doing it far better than that, right? They've got more of an idea of what this thing is. So I mean, it's always great having these conversations, because it lets people understand that, look, it took, it took you 9 months to find the perfect composer to do the score. Where a lot of times people will just be like, yeah, no, so I found a composer straight away and it just worked, right? Everything has to be perfect, right?
Yeah, and
so
efficient. Efficient. Everyone wants to be so efficient nowadays.
And so they make it sound like everything just fell into place. Oh, I didn't have to do anything. Oh, this just happened and that just happened. And it's like when you watch certain movies, like I enjoyed the Tetris movie. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because I was like, how the fuck are you making a film about Tetris? Like, I'm watching blocks there, like, what's going to happen? But so I thought it was interesting. But I then, because, to do the review, I have to find like certain information and blah, blah, blah. And so in finding that information, I then see some other stuff and I'm like, oh yeah. So what happened? And then you find out it wasn't over the course of a few months. It was a course over years.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just like people want things to, they think it works better if it flows like this, you know. And so if I tell you that, yes, so I was thinking about the score and I turned the radio on and they played this piece of music and I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm looking for. And I walked out the door and the composer was getting off the bus and I'm like, oh my God, serendipity. We had a coffee. That's how it happened. Bish, bash, bosh, right? They think that's the perfect story.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, shit don't happen like that, right? It you know, there's an awkwardness to finding things and it can take time, and you know, there's sometimes procrastination and there's so many things, and it's fine to say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's fine for it to be what it is, you know. So it's just like a conversation like this, you get all of that, right? And you don't, people aren't fooled by like this facade, right? We're not putting a filter on it. So it's just, I mean, it's helpful for people who are thinking about, you know, making a short, making a film, like, or doing anything creative, you know, because you hear someone talking, you're like, oh, okay. Right. So they, you know, it didn't just come easy. They had to work for that thing, right? It's sometimes you listen to fighters talk, like Dustin Poirier retired just the other day. And when he was just talking about his career, he's just like, yo, I wasn't great at anything. So I just worked and worked and worked until I became better. And then I worked more. You know what I mean? And you want to hear that, right? Because so many people are just like, I mean, it was just instinctive, right? I did the first punch I threw. I was like, oh, I'm the best, right? It's like, oh, I picked up a bike and realized I could be the Tour de France. And it's just like, okay, right? But that's not everyone. That's like, you know, 0.111% of people. You're the rest of us, there's work that comes into it, you know what I mean? It's about perfecting and sharpening, but then understanding that you can always get better. But then with this kind of stuff, you then have to realize I have to put it down, right? I've got to sign it off. It's got to be done, right? Otherwise, I'll be trying to polish this thing forever.
That's what my mom was saying. She's like, you have to finish it. And also for the team, because it's like, I mean, they had a version before. It's not like I withheld the footage for 4 years. Like they had temporary cuts and everything that they use for their reels and so forth. But yeah, there's a part where, and this is why I'm happy we're doing this, but there's a part where a movie isn't really finished until it's been screened for an audience.
Yeah.
And you're sharing it, because otherwise then it's just going to be on my hard drive. It's not, it doesn't exist until it's been seen, you know? So yeah, I did have to let go, but I'm, you know, I think it's so funny because just to bounce back on what you were saying about instinct, I think a lot of my process has been learning to trust my instinct and to create a structure in which I could be intuitive and instinctive and allow others to be intuitive and instinctive. Because if I was all like, oh, I know what I'm doing, I'm in control, then it would be much easier, you know, because I would just come and like, these are the shots and this is what we're doing. And you stand there and you do this, blah, blah. And that's not how I want to work. So
yeah,
if that's not how I want to work, then I have to create my own process. And if anybody, I don't know if you have people who want to become filmmakers who listen to this podcast, but I would say when I started, I was, because I started at 25, which is not old, but you know, I'd done things before, whatever. But I was always like, what are the rules? What do I have to do? And there are no rules. I guess once, if hopefully one day it happens for me, I'll have a producer and financiers. Maybe they'll set more rules for me. But I think really learning to say, no, I need to shoot chronologically, or at least I need to shoot this scene before I shoot that scene, or I need this time to do that, or I need, you know, learning to do that, I think, is really important. Because so many young people who want to come into film are like, and do I do this? Do I do that? And like, as long as you know what you prioritize, you can, as long as you're realistic, right?
Yes.
Because I was like, I'm filming in one location, so then nobody can tell me I can't shoot chronologically, you know? So that was how I compromised, because you have to compromise. You have to be practical. But if you're practical and realistic, you can make your own rules, which is something that I didn't know when I started the film industry. And I tried to do it the proper way for like my first short, and I shot everything in the order that made sense for camera. And I did not enjoy myself. And I felt like the actors did a really good job, but like they were a little bit like, you know, within a tiny square trying to move and doing a good job, but still, you know, felt boxed in, you know? And I thought, okay, that's not how I want to work. So how do I find a way to work in a way that fits me, which maybe is a parallel with what you were saying about your process, finding how the conversation that we're having works, like all the different formats you went through of trying this, trying that, writing questions. And so I feel like there's a definite parallel between our two ways of working.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, right, you're told there are rules.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you go to school for something, they're like, this is the structure, right? And you're meant to do it. Is like, so we on my marketing degree, right? We were told the structure to create an advert is this. And then you'll go, but then they go, oh, but none of the adverts you see on TV follow that structure. So then it's just like, why tell us this structure then? Like, what are we doing? You know? And what I always find funny with film is they'll tell you, right, this is how you construct a scene, and this is how, you know, it's got to have this many acts and do this and do that. And then you get a filmmaker that does it differently. And you're like, I mean, like, only they could do that, right? No one else could do that. They're the only one that could do that. But I'm like, yeah, but until they did it, no one could supposedly do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so they had to be like, you know what, I'm going to try something new. And then you're going, oh, I mean, it can be done, but not you can't. Only they can do the thing. Right. So it's just like you get, you know what I mean, boxed in to a notion of something. But a lot of times you're being told that by people that can't really do it.
Or only know how to do it one way.
Yeah. So they're like, well, so this has to be the only way. Right. I mean, like, I can't do anything. So this has to be the way. So that's what they tell you. And it's just like, no, like, you can find different ways to do it because we're all different. But it just has to make sense, as you say, like, you know, it's got to make sense for you, and it's got to be productive, and it's got to work. But if it hits all of those things, then yeah, do it that way.
Can I ask what your favorite movie or movies are?
Ooh. I mean, like, it kind of depends. You know what I mean? Like, there's movies that I love, right? But I'm kind of, you know, growing up, you always try and go, oh, what's my top 5 this, or what's my top 5 that? And then I realized that I can't have like a top 5, you know, thing, right? I've got to break it down more. So like my 5 favorite like rap songs, or my 5 favorite like rock songs, my 5 favorite indie songs, like it's got to be like that, because I could never do like my 5 favorite just songs. And so with films, I've got to kind of maybe break it down into genres.
Oh, wow.
Because to kind of go just my favorite films, because I think sometimes it's very dependent on the mood I'm in. You know what I mean?
But like, for example, right now, what's like a few movies that you like?
So yeah, a few of the films that I think are just fantastic, and the films that I will always like recommend to other people and stuff like that. So Love Jones.
Love Jones.
Love Jones.
I've never heard of it.
Oh my.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna write it down.
Oh,
Love
it's so
Jones?
good. Yeah, it's Oh my god, my mind's just gone completely blank. God damn it, my mind has just gone blank. This is so rubbish. I can't believe it. It's a great film. It's incredible. It's such a good film. But that's one of them. There was a film just a few years ago called Really Love. Felicia Pride
Really love.
wrote it. It was on Netflix for a bit. I'm not sure if it's still there, but oh, it's such a great film. It felt like the modern day Love Jones for me.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that was a great film. I really love like Punch Drunk Love because like I liked Adam Sandler films. I like, Big Daddy, Billy Madison, Happy Gil. Like I thought all of those were fun. But when I saw Punch Drunk Love, I was just like, wait, he does serious too? Oh my god. And it was a different type of love story because I now there's some kind of traditional love stories and things like that I think are fine and I like, but my thing, like Richard Linklater's Before trilogy,
Yeah.
I love those films so much. I've seen those films so many times because it's more of an honest portrayal of people meeting and interacting, and especially like the third film
I
when
have
they
not seen
bring
it.
oh
I have to. My sister was like, "You have to watch the whole thing." But
yes
yeah, I'm waiting for a movie screening. I think because I don't want to watch it here.
okay
Yeah.
yeah
So you
because
love the third one.
yeah I watched, I think I watched the first two on DVD, and then they showed them in the cinema, so I went to the cinema and watched them. And then I remember hearing, and it was such a crazy one because it wasn't like, oh, they're making a third film. It was just like, oh, a third film's coming out next week. It's just like, yo, what? And it was just like, oh yeah, they made it in between like this other film that they were, they were shooting here, they were shooting there. They came together and made this in a couple of weeks in between. And you're like, oh my God. And I remember going to the cinema, and I think it was the Prince Charles in London.
I've been
And
there.
yeah, and they showed the first two the day before, and then the next day they showed it, when that one was released, and I went and saw it, and I was just like, oh, it's that sigh of relief, like, oh my God, it's so good, right? Because you're like, oh, is it gonna be, are they gonna ruin the trilogy? Is it, oh, is it? And it was so good. It was so good. And again, it was just that portrayal of a couple that had been together for ages. So there's certain arguments and stuff, but it's like they loved each other still. They can disagree with each other and hate each other for a second and be like, but it's just like, yeah, but I'm looking out for you because I love you. And so yeah, those films, I love those films. Love those films. Like Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind is incredible. That's so good. Like stuff like Magnolia
Oh, Magnolia.
is
Yeah.
so good. And the score is incredible.
Yeah.
It's just things like that. Recently, Kid Cudi made a film.
Oh, really?
It's on Netflix called Intergalactic.
Okay.
It's animated. It
Okay.
is so good. It's something, I think it's like 50 minutes. It's so good. I loved it. Right? It's got a great score because Cudi did the music, but it's just the film, and it's about this couple kind of thing. Like he meets this girl, and but what I thought was really great was they actually showed them dating. Right? It wasn't just like, oh, you look nice, let's go hook up. It was just like
Yeah.
you actually saw them date before anything else, and it was that's really good. that's a really great film. Ooh, what else? You know, I really liked Blade. Like the first two Blade films were great, but what the thing I really thought was great about the first Blade film was the fact that it's about like this vampire hunter. It's like this kind of horror tinged film, but there were moments of comedy in it. And a lot of times, you know what I mean, you would just see people go, oh no, this is the genre of the film, so it's only this. And it was like, I think it was the first film that I really noticed that it was just like, oh, it's showing these other things, right? Because that's life, right? Even in a sad moment, sometimes you just laugh. And
Absolutely.
it's still sad, but it's just like for whatever reason, something makes you laugh. Or you know, you're using laughter as a coping mechanism, and so you know, just because it's one thing, it can be other things as well. And so that was a big thing I remember about Blade. But yeah,
I'll
there
look it up.
I
I wasn't even aware of it. So thank you for those recommendations.
I will send you a list of films.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Because I put a list together for a friend recently, so I'll send you a list of some of my favorite films.
I would love that. Thank you.
But it's always like just that tricky thing because I've always struggled with just pinning it down to like, you know, because as I said, it's so different and it's so dependent on many kind of different things.
Yeah, it's hard. And there's a lot of great movies out there. So
Oh,
yeah.
I know. That's the thing because you're just like, oh, I'll miss, you know, I don't want to miss this out. You've got oh my god, what's Blythewood? Again, she directed the first Old Guard film, but she made a film, Gina Prince Blythewood, Prince Blythewood, blah. But she made a film Love and Basketball, which Saina Lathan was the female lead. I think Omar Epps is the male lead in it. Great film.
So in the films you've told me, at least 4 out of 7 or 8 have the word love in the title. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm just saying. Punch Drunk Love, Love Jones, really Love and Basketball. But that's great. That love is amazing.
Oh man, I think it's just like, you know, ain't like when you kind of like see your origin story, right? You find out, you know, that you came into the world in a way that wasn't the best, right? And there wasn't, say, love there. So then it kind of makes you wonder what love is, right? And you see these saccharine portrayals of love in Hollywood, and it just never feels real, right? So you're always kind of chasing something that feels honest.
Yeah.
And so it's just like looking for that thing that's like, yeah, that's what it is. That's what it should be. That's the honesty in it, kind of thing. I think that's probably what it is, you know?
Yeah. And it's still love, even if it's not, flawless, or it's not what it's not. It doesn't have to be like a completely irrealistic sense of love for it to be love. It can be kind of broken and still
Yeah.
carry a lot of love.
Yeah. I mean, one of the first films that really spoke to me was Spike Lee's Mo Better Blues. I loved that. I wanted to be a saxophone, a trumpet player
Yeah.
after watching that film. Like I went to school and I was like, I want to learn the trumpet.
Wow. And do you know why it spoke to you on such a deep level?
I think it was the commitment to perfection. Right? Denzel's character was just like, no, I can't do that. I'm being this musician, right? And it was just this. And then when he got beat up in the alley, and and also there was things that you didn't even think about, right? That to be that it imprints in your lips. So then if you get beaten up and your mouth gets swollen, you lose that. And
Yeah.
I hadn't that just rocked my mind. I hadn't even thought about that. Right. So there was so
Yeah.
many things in that film, this commitment to perfection, this, like this, the way the music imprints on not just your soul, but like your body as well, and the fragility of it all. Right. And so it was just like all of these things that I had never thought about. And they just all became so clear when I watched this film. And I was like, oh my God. And yeah, that I just loved that film. And just the way it was shot and everything, because
The performances.
yeah, but like I love Jungle Fever and what I mean, like the other films, but it was just that one was something else for me.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah.
Anything that they do together or that actually individually as well, is so special every time.
I mean, I am really looking forward to this new one.
Me too.
Oh my God, I'm so looking forward to this, and it's just like I don't want it to be bad. I want it to be great. I really want it to be great, and I keep on thinking to myself, I think I'm gonna message Spike and see if he could do an interview.
You should.
But
You
I'm
should.
just like, he's not gonna want to talk, right? But but every day I'm just like,
but what if you manage to get a hold of him? I feel like he might say yes, because he taught us at NYU. I was really, really lucky. So we're all in class together, and he shows this movie, and then we get to ask him questions, or he brings a guest, and he's very generous, and he, and the way he talks about his movies is unique. So if you can get him, I would I would go and I mean, he's fascinating. So I'm sure he would. I don't know him well enough, but I have a feeling he would say yes.
I went to a talk just before he died with John Singleton. He came over to London and did something at the BFI. And he talked about, his interactions with Spike and how generous Spike was with time and stuff like that. So that's, I kind of, it's one of those things that kind of feels like it's not unreachable, but it's like so daunting. Like, what I mean? Just the thought of actually speaking to Spike Lee would be like, yo, crazy. But yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'm sending that message.
Yeah, he's so generous, and like, I mean, he watched the movie that we were talking about, like Les Trois Valseurs 3, because I was able to. You can have office hours with him, which I mean, so lucky to do that. He watched it and he was like, "Very good film." I was like, "That's it?" He's like, "Yeah." And then I asked him a few questions, and he completely got it. And he talked a little bit about it, but he doesn't like speak too much, but what he says has so much weight. And he also was like, he also complimented my writing, and that was at the time where I was thinking, oh, I had major insecurities about my writing, and I was thinking I shouldn't be a writer director. I should just try to direct. Or I was like, anyway, I was going through something, and the fact that he said that to me that day, it really kind of it gave me the assurance that I needed, because I think he had no idea. but he was saying in class, he was saying some people have the hyphen writer director and some people don't. And he was like, you have to figure out if you have the hyphen. And when he said that, like me obviously being in class, surrounded like by 40 brilliant classmates, I'm like, oh, I definitely don't have the hyphen. This is what I'm thinking. And then go at office hour, he sees the movie, he's like, very good movie. And then I asked him a bunch of questions and he was like, no, I got it. Like she's going through loss and everything. Like he completely got it. When I was thinking that he's going to hate this movie, not at all his type of movie, you know, I was really scared. And then he said, you write this dialogue? And I said, yeah. And he said, you have the hyphen. And I this is the first time I told this story in public, but like, or what, you know, the podcast, you know, I've carried this, that he said that with me because I was really thinking, I was approaching writers in the dramatic writing program. I was like I was really thinking I should stop writing. And he gave me, without knowing that I was thinking I should stop writing, he gave me that confidence. So he's, definitely message him.
No, I'm definitely doing that tomorrow. I'm gonna send him a message. But what I'm curious about, because you know, you've said it earlier as well, like about your writing. Like, what is the hesitancy around your writing? Like, what's the thing that makes you doubt your ability?
Oh my goodness. So I should say the reason it took 4 years to make the movie is we did ADR. So that line you liked when she said like, oh, I'm not paying you to ask questions, that's ADR. So I'm glad you didn't notice it. I mean, because the sound designer did such a great job. But so that was a lot of my insecurities with writing is like, I was really writing from up here, from like my brain. And I was trying to make my dialogue interesting a lot of times. And anyway, so we cut a bunch of lines out. And I think I got better. And really what helped me get better, that now I don't feel like my writing is great. And I feel like a director who writes. I always feel like a director who writes. I never feel like a writer-director. But I think what helped me was going to the theater, because I go to theater, listening actors talk. And the theater will be as close as you get to how people actually talk, I think, even if the style is elevated or different. And now I'm trying to see writing as like a weapon that I give to an actor. And then I'm like, do what you want with the weapon. So that's how I try to write. And it's really connected to my love for working with actors. But I think for the longest time before, because I went to business school, because I had a kind of very classical formal training education in France, where we were like writing essays and we were trying to sound intelligent all the time. And it's not even being intelligent. I think it's being intellectual, which is very different from being intelligent.
Yes.
I was censoring my intuition and I was censoring all that. And I was just trying to be smart when, actually my first year writing teacher at NYU, Mikaël, who I love and taught me so much and is also a playwright, he said to me in first year, he was like, you're too smart for your own good. And initially I didn't know what that meant, but I think that's because when where I grew up, it's like, you have to be smart. Like you have to get a good degree. And it's the difference between being smart and being intelligent, or being intellectual and being intelligent. And I think that's what he meant by my writing was too heady.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get what you're talking about, right? Because I've worked for a lot of medical organizations and like some tech organizations. And so the way you write is very different.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And you have to structure in a certain way. And it does not feel very open, right? It feels very stuffy, but it's just the way you have to. If you try and do anything different, and like, I mean, it's kind of there, but it just feels a bit too informal. You need to do this and blah, 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 blah. And it's like so frustrating because it can feel so stale, so forced, right? And I think that was another thing with, doing audio over written with this, because like I'd read things and it's like, I mean, did you just swallow a thesaurus? Like, you're just trying to use every big word you know.
Yes.
When if you're talking about a film you know, you come out the cinema with your friend and you'll be like, Jesus, that was freaking great. But if you're writing, you'd be like, it exhumed so much emotional impact that it reminded me of the first day of spring when blossoms will bloom and you will smell the honeysuckle. That's what the film, and it's just like no one talks like that when you're just the raw emotions of seeing that film, right? If you're really breaking it down, you get a bit more descriptive and stuff, but that raw emotion isn't that. And so it's just like, yeah, there's times, you know, where people, you know, trying to be too smart, right? Too smart with the writing, and it just comes off removed, right? But if you're writing real human characters, now, if you're doing a stylized piece,
that's different. Yeah,
you can do that. But if you're trying to get raw emotions about a certain instinct, like a real kind of thing, then you have to be freer with the dialogue. It can't be this perfectly phrased thing, right? There can be some stuttering and some missteps and be like, you know what I'm trying to say.
exactly.
You know, you can throw things like that in there because it doesn't have to be perfect. But, you know, a professor will be like, oh, no, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be this. And, you know, other people will be like, well, you know, you need to follow the certain rules. Or blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, no, there is something about writing, you know what I mean, that not everyone can do. Right. And I think that's always that I feel that's the interesting thing about filmmaking and creativity right now, because with technology, it has broken down barriers, which is incredible. It's great. But it also then gives people the thought that anyone can do it. Right. Have you watched Kill Tony or listened to Kill Tony? It's this comedy podcast, comedy show. It is great. It's so good. Tony Hinchcliffe heads it up. And essentially, right, you go to a show, and if you want to perform, you put your name in a hat. And during the show, they pull out names. And if your name gets pulled, you get to go up on stage and do a minute routine. And it's not easy doing a minute route. It's hard doing 5 minutes, right? Getting up and doing a 5-minute set is not the easiest thing to do, but doing a minute is hard. But you will find so many people think that they can do it. And there's people that are like, you can see the kernel of something there. And there's some people who are just like, you should never have done this. You should never have got on stage, right? And I think there's some people that now barriers have come down with technology that everyone thinks they can tell a story. They can make a film. And it's just like, yeah, you can't. Which is fine, because you could probably do something else.
Yeah.
Great. You could probably be a great cinematographer. You could probably be a great casting director. There's so many different roles that you could play in this thing. If that's what you want to do, not everyone can tell a good story. Or it might take time.
Yeah. Don't get this. That's what I was saying. Don't get discouraged too quickly, because I was really like, I'm glad I didn't. I'm still writing. But I was really like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. And then, you know, I'm glad I stuck to it. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. There's definitely some things where I'm like, I could not do cinematography.
Yeah.
I know that.
But I look at like early DiCaprio films and Clooney films, I didn't necessarily think they were great at the start. But then all of a sudden you watch something and you're like, yo, that is a great performance. What happened? You know what I mean? And it's just like sometimes you can just, things just fall into place and it all makes sense, you know?
Because I also teach, I teach kids and teens acting on camera, which I really enjoy. But I think the way that I try to tell people who are starting, or I try to look at it this way, I try to give this energy of like, even seeing my fellow classmates, because a lot of us, I had not done filmmaking before NYU, and a lot of us came in, half of us had never done filmmaking. And at the beginning, you're like in this energy, like who's good, who's not good, blah, 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 who's talented. And it's kind of, try to stay away from that, it's toxic. But it's natural. Like we were a really good group, but it happens, and you know, you're insecure and so forth. And then there's like a few people who maybe their first work was not, you know, was good, but not notable. And then they came back and they did like a thesis that was just like, whoa, or a second year film that was like, oh my God, where did that come from? I had no idea you had that voice. So now I'm really cautious with people initially who maybe you like trying to sniff out potential. You know, I'm really cautious about where potential is, because the way I see it is like, we're all trying to play this game, but we don't know what the rules are. And we're discovering the rules as we are playing the game. And that is really weird, because, and then you have a classmate who's, you know, whatever, figured out the rules sooner, or who had a prior education in film, or some people just get the rules just quickly, instinctively. And then you're like, oh my God, this person is more talented than I am, or this person is more talented than this other person. And then that other person that you had overlooked gets the rules, and then they come back and they do something amazing. So that's what I would say. Anybody starting out, your first project, your first even 3 or 4 projects, you're still figuring out the rules. And it's the same in acting. Like a lot of people acting, they don't know what acting is. They think acting is just about getting emotional, and it's not. You know, the emotion will come if you're really living truthfully under the circumstances. You don't need to worry about emotion. But so many young actors like think they have to worry about emotion. That's not the rules. That doesn't mean they're not talented. That just means they haven't figured out the rules of the thing they're playing yet. So
yeah, no, I think that's the thing. It's just like, don't expect the first thing to be it.
Yeah, or even the second thing, or even the second or the third thing. Give yourself grace.
Learning. It's all
learning.
Building. It's all creating an infrastructure. And it can take, you know, a week. It can take a month. It can take years.
Years. From me, it took years.
I think also it's, what do you actually want?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's sometimes people do a thing because they're like, oh, I can meet famous people, or, oh, if I do this thing, I can travel, or I can, but it's just like, do you actually want to do the thing?
Yeah.
Right. And I think when people actually want something, there is a passion in the way they talk about it. There's a way they talk about it that lets you know, okay, right? So you might not know the route right now, but just stay with it, right? Stay with it. Stay practicing, stay learning, stay immersing yourself, and you'll find your way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh man. This is I'm really enjoying this conversation. Like, now the film is, well, I mean, where is the film? Is it out in the world, or are you doing festivals?
It's on a hard drive. No, so sorry. We had 3 festival selections. It opened in St. Louis International Film Festival, then went to Dallas International Film Festival, then went to Dances with Films. And now we're waiting for hopefully our next screening. I just want to say as well, I think I think I got 50 rejections from festival before I got the first selection at St. Louis. So also coming from, because I have friends who are like, oh, I didn't get anywhere. I applied to 10. I'm like, I applied to 100. And it's expensive. Like, ask for those discount codes. It's a lot of money. But, ultimately, I've been 4 years of my life working on this. So I want it to be seen, and I want the actors' performances to be seen and everybody's work to be seen. But yeah, so I would love to bring it to Europe just because I'm from there and like a lot of the team is from there. Mikaël, the lead actor, has so he became kind of famous in France on a TV show there. So his fans sometimes write to me on Instagram like, when is the movie coming to France? Like, I don't know. We keep getting rejected, but hopefully more screenings. Yeah.
Okay. I think I feel it's at the end of the year. There's the London Short Film Festival.
I think I applied.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but it's funny. I feel like what do I know? Because I've been told 18 minutes is a little long for film festivals. Like, it's under 15 is a sweet spot. And then I feel like because the movie is so emotional, maybe American audiences like it more. Like, I think LA was a really good place for that. Whereas I think Europeans might be a little more like my mother and might be like, oh, this is too melodramatic. Or so I'm just like, I'm trying to, I'll go wherever people want to see it, but that's how I'm trying to figure out the trends. We'll see, but hopefully somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. That would definitely be cool. I think, yeah, people need to see the film. Yeah.
I'd love to meet you if it goes to London. I'd love to meet you in person.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We'll catch up and have a drink for sure. Yeah, don't know. I think it's the irritating thing about short films that there's not a place for them, which makes no sense, right? Because you always hear that, Netflix and Prime and is like that they need content, they need stuff, and the amount of times people go on and they're like, I want to watch something, and then they spend an hour scrolling going, no, I'm not quite in the mood for that. What about it might be a bit long. It's a bit too crazy for this time of night. Maybe it's like, oh god, I've got to go to bed now. So you don't. But if there's short films, you can go, yeah, I can give myself 18 minutes. That's fine. And then from that you'll watch something else, and then you watch something else. But it's just like committing to 2.5 hours, right? You'd be like, I don't know if I can right now, right? But you can do that with a short film. And then a lot of times there's actors in shorts that are then in their other things, so you just have the link to that actor, so then you can see their other work and boom, boom, boom. So it's like that gateway drug to a whole heap of other things. So it's just like, it makes no sense that they don't want the short films.
I haven't tried to sell it to a distributor or TV channel yet. I will try. I'm just hoping to get a few more festivals just because, it's like a big screen. But ultimately, yeah, maybe we'll see. I know distribution is not particularly kind to short films, but it does happen sometimes. So yeah, maybe, fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll be on one of the platforms someday, because I do want people to see it. Like, I'm not going to be precious about it. It's just sitting on my hard drive. So yeah, any place it lands, I'll be grateful if people can watch it, and they like it, they don't like it, that's fine.
I think people will definitely like it for sure. Do you have an idea of where you want to go next?
Where I want to go next? I just started directing theater.
Yes.
And
yes, we should touch on that.
I loved that so much. I had such a great time. So I directed a short play in March, and I didn't write that one. It was really well written by a playwright called John Harney. I was really grateful. That was my first project. And then the one that I just closed like 10 days ago, that one I was the playwright. It was my first playwriting experience, and I directed it. And that was like a 20-minute play. It was in a theater here in New York called the Chain Festival. It was like a one-act play. And that was amazing. That was one of the most fulfilling artistic experiences of my life. So I hope to do more of that. And then I also have another script for another short film. So, I'm like, actors don't have to choose. Actors can do it both. I think Sam Mendes does film and theater. So hopefully I don't have to choose, because I really love both of them. And I think I've been feeding from the rehearsal process for theater and how I work on my movies. And then I've been told some of my lighting choices in theater are film-like, so I think both mediums can really feed each other. So hopefully that and still, trying to figure out life and post-graduation life and like applying for jobs and all that other not fun stuff that we don't talk about, but that is definitely still going on.
Well, it's funny because, remember back in the day, right? People would go, like, TV and film were very separate. And you either did TV or you did film.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked distinctly different. Now, like, a TV show looks like a 6-hour movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's no stigma about being on TV. So it's kind of like, yeah, theater can have those elements, right? There doesn't have to be this weird separation and everything like that. You can take elements of this and put it here. It's like whatever works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've been told, because even that, I've been told, like, my movies, I've always been told in film school, oh, it looks like you're writing a play. And initially I thought it was an insult coming from my classmates. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is not a bad thing. Now I'm thinking, like, 5 years later. And then I love just those continuously staying with an actor. And like, I don't like too many scenes. I'd rather have fewer scenes. That's why I loved Anora, because there were a few scenes, but they were just really building, like, one moment built to the next type of thing. And it felt a little bit like a play. And so any movie like The Deer Hunter, I love The Deer Hunter, like all those movies, like really long scenes where you just sit in a scene and you wait to see what happens. So I think, yeah, in theater, you're literally doing that. And then I hope to do more of that in film as well,
Oh, that'd be cool. Any particular genres you want to play in?
Genres? No, I'm mostly doing drama, I think, but no, I like to change. I always like to be like, set myself a new challenge. Like I've done the thriller. Now I'm going to do this intimate to conversation piece. So the next one, I did one with kids, and then the next one also has kids. So like, let's try. I like to discover something new, because yeah. So we'll see. I'm open to hopefully try different things. But yeah, probably the next short film will be in a school with kids.
Okay.
Hopefully, if I can get the funding.
And have you set yourself a timetable for transitioning to a feature, or is it just whenever it feels like the time?
I have not. And it's not that NYU is a great school, by the way. I mean, I've learned so much there, and they really try to prepare us for the what we call the real world, I guess. But no, I mean, no, for some reason I have not. I'm starting to think I should start to think about it, but I'm also so happy doing theater right now, and kind of decided that with being an artist, or whatever that means, you kind of have to just go with the flow. I think at the beginning of my career, I was trying to control everything too much out of fear, really, and just like that business school, French school upbringing, and now I'm just like, okay, I'm doing this now. Tomorrow I'll do that, and I have a script, and I don't know when that's going to go, but I'm trying to be more free. But I do want to write the full length version of the play I just did. So that's no feature, but
Okay.
Hopefully a full-length version of the play.
Hey, I mean, it's a similar thing, I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I just went to film. I'm like, I went to film school, but now that I'm writing a full-length play instead of feature.
But, right, you can do the play, and then you can adapt it for the cinema.
Maybe.
So you give yourself 2 bites of the apple. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. If people are not bored with what I do, and like, okay, yeah, I'll watch a movie version of that. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. No. That could be the way. Awesome. Well, how can people keep track of everything that you're doing?
There's not all that much, but the stuff I'm doing, I think you'll mostly see on Instagram. I'm oriana.sy.ng, and then I have a website. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty easy to get in touch with. So feel free. Whoever is still listening to our conversation, is please feel free to message me.
No, I think the way you talk about films, and then people see the actual finished pieces, right? I think, like it's that proof of concept, right? When people are looking for, but when you think about it, right, Mark Webb was an indie director before Marvel and Sony grabbed him to do Spider-Man. So it's just like, this is the allotment of ideas, as it were, right? So I think people see what you can do, hear the passion you have for it all. I think big things are on the horizon for sure.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully. I'm just happy to be talking to you and to have this movie that I really love, and to be working surrounded by great people. I'm just grateful for everything, and then whatever happens next. One step at a time.
Well, when the next thing is ready, it would be great if you could come back for another conversation.
I would love to. I had the best time. It's so nice to talk to you.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed your experience. We'll talk about film, the next project, or just film in general.
Yeah, I have, and you need to send me your list.
Yes, I will send you a list, and you know what? So, this is probably going out on episode 387. So we are coming up to 400. So
Wow.
on the 400th episode, maybe we have a conversation about your favorite Scorsese or De Niro films.
Are you sure? Because I will talk longer than I've talked about my own movie.
I feel that's the thing to do. So episode 400, Oriana Ng will be back to talk about what brought her into storytelling. Right? We'll do Scorsese, De Niro. We do one or the other, or we can do both, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Bob and Marty. As people here who've worked with them, Bob and Marty. I've never had the privilege, but that's how I've heard some people refer to them.
Yeah. Just as long as we don't have to watch Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh yeah, that's one I haven't seen. So I shouldn't.
Yeah, I think it came out when I was working in a cinema, and
Oh, you worked in a cinema. Oh, great.
yeah, I was a floor supervisor and a projectionist,
Wow,
which
that's
was
amazing.
it was, and it wasn't.
Oh yeah, because I guess it could shatter the dream to be so close, but then see all the
Well, the thing was that, so it's just like when a new film came in, so you had to make, like, we made, because we were working with film, so we made up the film, we put in the ads, the trailers, all of this kind of thing. But with a big film, you get in multiple prints. And so I remember when we got Pearl Harbor in, we had 5 prints. I had to watch it twice. I hated the film. And I
Oh,
had to watch. I because and also we had to wait until everyone's out of the cinema before we can start any of that, right? So I forget what night it was. I think it was probably a Thursday or something like that. I think I started that day at 9 or just before 9. I left the cinema, I think at 5 or 6 a.m. because I had to, because it was like a 3-hour film. And so I had to watch 2 of them. And I hated it so much. That was a long ass day. But some days were fine. Some days were a lot of fun. Although when Blade 3 came out, right, there's the cinema, like, they didn't want to pay for any like new equipment or anything. And sometimes the cooling system would break. So it was always the worst thing when you open the door in the morning. If the projection booth was a sauna, you knew you were gonna have a nightmare of a day. And I came in and it was so hot, and I was just like, oh no, this is gonna be a nightmare. And so it made the film jump, it made the film stick. And I was we used to run the film, and then I'd always go into a screen to check and make sure it's all working properly. And I went into the screen, and then I just saw this white come, and I realized the film had caught on fire, and I had to run up to the
oh
booth
my God.
and then get the film out. Then it's a case of chopping the
The
scene
parts that are
parts,
damaged.
but so much had burned that there wasn't much left. So I had to connect it in a way that it would flow properly, and I was able to do it just, but it was such a nightmare. It was such a nightmare. Oh, that was
Whoa.
a tough day.
I'm getting Cinema Paradiso flashes as you're saying all this.
Yeah,
Wow.
a little bit.
But this just shows your dedication to cinema.
Oh man, yeah. It was fun though. It was fun. I worked there while I was at uni. It was a good job that I could study around.
Mm.
Oh yeah. But yeah, we will do this again. Episode 400. So in a few months' time.
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me, because we're such a small movie, and I so appreciate that you took the time to watch it and to have me on.
Again, no problem at all. You had a great PR person, so hey,
Yeah.
whenever
Thank you, AJ.
You know what I mean? And you know, she knows great film. So if she's working on something, I know it's gonna be good. And yeah, this definitely was great. Can you pronounce it again for me so I remember how to say it?
Les Trois Valseurs.
Les Trois Valseurs.
Valseurs.
Les
Yes.
Trois Valseurs.
Yes.
Awesome. People, if you see Les Trois Valseurs, anywhere, make sure you go check it out. Follow Oriana on socials so you know what she's doing next. If she's got a play, go see it, go support, because you will not be disappointed. All right, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to the next time we get to conversate.
Me too. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you. This was fantastic. I had a great time. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
You too.
Awesome.
Bye.